Hello. Hello, hello. Hi, Gray. Could you let me know how the audio is? Can you hear me? Can you hear the game? Do I need to adjust anything? Sounds good. Alright, let's go. I don't know if we can get all the way through today, but we're gonna try to get as far as we can. Because we only have, like, this stuff left. We've done all of this. So, let's see it. How are you doing? Kichi's here and I'm ready. Let's go. Okay. Grandfather's articles were trampled on. We have proof as clear as the pathogen causing Hinamizawa syndrome, so why can't they believe in its life cycle? Because they've never heard of that before? Because they can't imagine it? Because there's no way something so absurd could be true? Don't tell me that. I can't bring myself to care about the limits of those commoners' understanding. Why can't anyone believe the truth of my grandfather's article, which has been proven by the Idia Institute? Hi, Kimono, how are you? Why do people continue to believe that humans are a special existence? Humans are simply a species of animal. When various parasites that control their animal hosts exist, how can people declare parasites that use humans as their hosts don't? Wait. This isn't the problem. Not at all. Because everyone believed my grandfather's article up until now. Isn't that why the Ministry of Health and the Defense Agency lent me their assistance? But out of nowhere, they turned cold. In other words, every bit of their help was because Uncle Koizumi had my back. Takano, you're the problem, true. Eating pizza and now going mini-golfing. Ooh, go have fun. I hope you win if you're playing competitive, and if not, have fun anyway. I'm also doing well. I'm a little sniffly today, but that's just allergies. So nobody actually read my grandfather's article? Get a hole-in-one for us, true. Did they just pretend to in order to make Uncle Koizumi happy? What is the meaning of everything I've done up until today? I thought I'd achieved something, but what have I really accomplished? I don't know what's going on, and all I can do is wallow in grief. The more I think about it, the more I no longer understand the meaning of my own life. Didn't Mio Takano devote her life to being useful for her grandfather? Let's go. I believe in you, Kimono. You got this. You've accomplished crime. You're not wrong. Then I haven't done anything for him at all. Count 3 with my grandfather, and I go on to count 4. What a crazy thing to say. No. No. If I let my mind wander, doubt about myself, and my life will slip... Oh, if I let my mind wander, doubt about myself and my life will slip in. So I'm just going to fill the gap in my heart with alcohol. Is it that strange to presume the existence of something that can influence human thoughts? It's true that Hinamizawa syndrome isn't the actual cause of ideology. The best it could do is drive people mad. She's crazy with it. By starting a stream, entering... Activated my trap card, sniffles be gone, and now you have to be better. Aw, thank you, I appreciate it. I'll do my best to make sure they go away. How was your birthday, by the way? I hope you had fun. Avery says happy birthday, by the way. She's not here today, but she wanted me to tell you that. Happy belated birthday. Socialism or capitalism don't originate with it. Yeah, happy belated birthday, Kimono. In the era my grandfather was living, you couldn't talk about the world without ideology. The article came from that time and age, so some of its influences may be exaggerated or biased, but that's no reason to deny its foresight. You can't simply say it's crazy and push it aside. Yeah, hope you had a good one. Besides, the most important thing they ignored is the fact that Rika Furude, the queen carrier, holds the fate of the village in her hands. My grandfather had predicted the importance and danger of the Queen Carrier since beginning his research on Hinamizawa syndrome. But the hypothesis of the infected community collapsing into madness if the Queen Carrier dies is a Pandora's box that can't be proven. It can only be confirmed after Rika Furude's death, and if she dies, it'll be too late. But there's no mistake that Rika Furude is the Queen Carrier, and a very special existence. Birthday was good. I only just over most of my friends today because I was hiking in hills most of it. Oh! Week-long celebration. Let's go. Well-deserved. I'm glad you had a good birthday. It's clear from the various experiments we performed that she has a special influence on the infected villagers. Her death really could trigger the collapse of the entire village. There's no mistake. My grandfather predicted it. To say all of that sounds like a comic book. It's just too cruel. For them to call the various preparations we've made to protect her a fictional project that was used to tunnel funds. What I'm doing now is simply what my grandfather was going to do. Therefore, insulting my research is the same as insulting my grandfather. According to my grandfather's article, the first thing that needs to be done when researching the syndrome is to protect the Queen Carrier. Yet they ridiculed that more than anything else. The more I think about it, the more their words stick in my memory. I can almost hear their voices, and I can't stop myself from covering my ears. I'm sure the members of the board directors think I'm crazy. I was trying to petition for the Iria Institute to not be shut down, but it backfired. Takano's research is 100% not her grandfather's anymore. Yeah, it's... Man, where has she gone? When did things go wrong? The members must think that Hinamizawa syndrome is some kind of joke, and I'm sure they'll push even harder now to put a stop to our research. If that happens, I would have to go back to researching as an individual. In other words, the same as what my grandfather did. There's a limit to what an individual can do. It's doubtful if I would even be able to go back to researching it individually. Once the Iria Institute is disbanded, everyone is obligated to keep it confidential until we die. I signed a contract to that extent. That's not just a simple promise. If I were to break it, a special unit like the Mountain Dogs would come after me to ensure that I keep everything confidential. Even if that doesn't happen, the Iria Institute is to eradicate the syndrome within a few years and to bury every trace of it, including the results of our research. This isn't the normal process of research and treatment. They want to pretend nothing ever happened to begin with. I wanted to continue and complete my grandfather's work, but what's happening now will result in the complete opposite. I'm actually helping to eliminate my grandfather's hard-earned research from this world. A treatment has been created already. Although Iria is as passionate as I am about developing a cure, he's not particularly interested in any other aspect of our research. I hate to admit it, but he has more experience and talent than I do. I'm sure he'll come up with a plan for eradicating Hinamizawa syndrome within 3 years as requested by the new board of directors. And that board of directors will provide just enough funds to bury the syndrome. Iria will do that happily, just like the time when he disposed of all the research data on test medicine H170 as was requested. All I could do is passively hinder them, just as they did to me, while watching the Hinamizawa syndrome get eradicated. And when everything is over, I will finally complete an article which is destined to be destroyed. Should I kill myself with thoughts of it in my head so I can at least present the article to my grandfather? He won't be happy even if I did that. On the contrary, he'll be disappointed in me for throwing the research he spent half of his life on down the drain. He won't embrace me. I know that for sure. I wanted to reveal Hinamizawa syndrome to the world. I wanted the world to acknowledge my grandfather's masterpiece. I wanted to carve his name in history and promote him to a god. My grandfather waited, believing that day would come, and he must be patiently waiting still, even after entering his eternal sleep. But I ruined it. I wanted him to become a god. I honestly feel no sympathy for her during this sob story, because she's so wrong. She's like, oh yeah, this is what my grandfather would have wanted, but I don't think so. I don't think that's what he wants. I was going to become a god myself too. Then we'll be together forever, and I'll never have to be alone. If I become a god, God won't test me. There won't be any unhappiness. There won't be a sudden train accident. My grandfather won't go away, nor will Uncle Koizumi. I'll never have to go back to being alone. I am alone. I have no allies. I was just dancing in ecstasy on a stage without anybody watching. I'd only just realized that there was no applause, but only ridicule. No, it's doubtful that there was actually anyone in the audience to begin with. My parents died, my grandfather died, and then Uncle Koizumi died. 3 times had God toyed with me with their rolls of the dice. I thought I overcame each of those trials with my own strength, but I didn't. I was protected by a new guardian each time. And this time, I have no guardians left to protect me. When I first arrived in Hinamizawa, I had every intention of challenging God and kicking him off his throne. But now, forget challenging God. I'm just a loser being played with. I suddenly can't find it within myself to care about anything. Because if I cared, I'd be swallowed by sadness. Soaking my heart in alcohol is all I could do to forget about everything. A luxurious black car abruptly stopped next to me. I became sober immediately, as cars like that remind me of the time when I was captured after escaping from the orphanage. Rika-core, yeah, I can see it. Suspicious-looking men in black suits and sunglasses got out from the car. I realized it instantly. They must have been sent by one of my clients. Being involved in the development of a biological weapon, being the main person responsible for it, and on top of that, being mentally unstable. They obviously don't want me walking around freely. They're going to abduct me, seal me in concrete, and erase my existence. Or so I thought. I expected them to grab me and shove me into the car. But surprisingly, they bowed deeply to me instead. Are you the vice administrator of the Idia Institute, Major Mio Takano? Normally, yes. I'm just a drunk loser at the moment, though. Yeah, she's totally not infected. Definitely not. Completely sane. There's someone who'd like to meet with you. Could you please come along with us? Even if I refuse, you're going to take me along anyway, right? I'd be killed anyway. I can't make my grandfather's wish come true, even if I live. Cynical thoughts like that ran through my head. Then the person in the back seat said, "We won't force you, but I'm sure we can help." I've never met this young woman before. She must be around my age. She knows about the Idia Institute, so she must be somehow connected to my clients. She's too young to be one herself. I bet a client who doesn't want to expose himself sent her. Even if I live, I can't make my grandfather a god. I can't be a god myself either. Who cares about where a loser like me gets killed anyway? I made up my mind and got into the back seat. As soon as I got in, the luxurious car smoothly took off. Silence filled the car for a long time. They're the ones that invited me. I don't have anything to say myself. Long time no see, though I'm sure you don't remember. We met in passing at Koizumi-sensei's funeral. Oh, we did? Sorry, I don't remember. There were so many people at that funeral, I can't recall any of them. But why is that what she's opening with? Does that mean she belongs to the Koizumi faction? Koizumi-sensei was very active as one of the opinion leaders during the post-war restoration. You can't begin to talk about the way the country is today without mentioning his accomplishments. When we were rebuilding the country from the burnt fields after the war, our nation's supporters were united, but unfortunately, it's hard to say that now. As our time of peace grew longer, and we started seeing the generation who didn't remember the burnt fields become key national figures, we saw a decline in those who understood the noble intentions we started with. As the final remaining member of those noble men, Koizumi-sensei was the central pillar guiding us into the 21st century. After his death, the Koizumi faction quickly fell. As a result, the other factions are extending their influence, leading everything to become quite a mess, right? I heard about these things from Jiro-san. It's really no different from the Sengoku era, where when a lord or military leader died back then, the struggle to become his successor brought chaos to the nation. This country hasn't changed for hundreds of years. Exactly. Unfortunately, while we built peaceful Japan into a comfortable place to live, the noble intentions that guided us from the outset have been forgotten. Right now, various factions are fighting in Tokyo over the seat left behind by Koizumi-sensei. If Koizumi-sensei and the other deceased servicemen ever found out about this, they'd be so disappointed. What does that have to do with me? Aren't you the biggest victim of all this? I think you've had enough experiences with sudden shifts in the wind, haven't you? It's true that our research began because of Koizumi-sensei's support, and the pressures we faced under the anti-Koizumi faction have been tempestuous and cold. Maybe for them, every project that Koizumi-sensei left behind is an eyesore, regardless of what that project is. In other words, that simply means they rejected the research itself, doesn't it? Come to think of it, something like this happened to my grandfather, too. Back then, Koizumi brought authorities from various fields to see him. They talked down to my grandfather despite the praise they'd given earlier. Koizumi-sensei told me that the masterminds were responsible for that. It's not too much of a stretch to say that your research into Hinamizawa syndrome is the #1 leader in terms of funding, organization, and so forth in terms of projects within the Alphabet Project. Therefore, it's been made into a scapegoat by those people who want to monopolize the interests of the project. A scapegoat? What I mean is that your research into the Hinamizawa syndrome isn't what they rejected. What's important to them isn't the content, but the faction leading the project. I wanted to tell you that today. In the end, I'm just a sacrificial goat put up for everyone to see, huh? It doesn't matter what I research. The only thing they care about is that we belong to the Koizumi faction. That's correct. The faction in control is like the direction of the wind. Sometimes it's a tailwind, and sometimes it's a headwind. Unfortunately, once the direction changes, it's not easy to turn it back around. So you're saying it won't be easy to bring my hostile clients back? That's correct. The Alphabet Project has been taken over completely. All the directors have been replaced, and they're only interested in fulfilling their own desires. From the very beginning, they had no intention of listening to your explanation. I grasped my knees, remembering that humiliating day. Let me change the subject for now. What would you consider the objective of your research, Takano-san? That is, to fulfill my intellectual curiosity. Isn't it the promise you made with the late Dr. Takano, who you looked up to as your grandfather? Well, that's surprising. Koizumi-sensei once told me that this fact could become a hindrance, so I've never told any of my clients about it. How did she find out? If they know that, maybe they know a lot more about us than I think. Where did you hear about that? Koizumi-sensei told me. What? We're not your enemies. Please relax. We're here to help you. I don't know who she really is, but I know she's here because she wants something from me. So what is it that she wants? She knows about the relationship between my grandfather and me, so I can't be careless. But in order for us to help you, we need to have you tell us the truth. In other words, we want you to be honest. I don't know what you're trying to say. What is your true purpose in researching Hinamizawa syndrome? To have my grandfather's masterpiece acknowledged for what it is, and to have him become a god. Isn't it to have the whole world acknowledge the late Dr. Takano's research, and to get your revenge against those who trampled upon and looked down on the articles your grandfather wrote with all his heart? I'm reaching the limit of not letting my surprise show on my face. How much does this woman know about me? That's what she said. I think she said that in her mind. Like she was thinking it and then she didn't say anything out loud. In the first place, who is she? How does she know everything I'm thinking? I can't admit that out loud in any case. I have appearances to consider. But while this elegant woman was wearing an angelic smile, she laughed with the devil's seductive whisper, several times better at it than I am. A simple smile and a devilish grin are completely different. An ordinary smile means goodwill, but a malicious smirk means the complete opposite. This woman can read my deepest thoughts, and while doing so, she's testing me to see how honest I can be with her. Whether I tell her the truth or not isn't the issue here. She's testing me to see if I could trust her enough to confess anything. If I've completely misunderstood, please forgive me. We'll take you to the nearest train station. That'd be Gogura Station, wouldn't it? Well? On the other hand, if what I'm saying is somewhere close to what you're feeling, I think we can help each other. What do you think, Mio Takano-san? I I can't say anything in reply, but I think that simply remaining silent might also be an answer. I want to hear what she wants from me. I've always phrased my objective as some vague idea of turning my grandfather into a god. But she's just taught me what my true objective is. I want to get revenge for my grandfather's suffering. I want those people to fight over the right to read the article they once trampled on and mocked. I want them to believe, no, to worship every single word my grandfather left behind. That is my true objective. This woman has stated out loud that which I've only whispered within myself. She even asked me if that was correct. Is this woman an angel or a devil? If I am a human, is she in existence above me? Your misfortune was that you didn't understand your true objective. That's why you couldn't achieve anything. You set an abstract goal like uncovering the mysteries of Hinamizawa syndrome, which could never be achieved. So you couldn't help but to question the meaning of your own life. Isn't that right? That's wrong. Your actual objective, your earnest dream, isn't so abstract. Can you imagine? Just think of this scene. The true leaders of this nation are reading your grandfather's article. While shocked at its contents, they believe all of it without even a hint of doubt. These people humbly read the article with footprints on its back. They express their respects at the insightfulness of his research and tremble in fear at its implications. What do you think? Were you able to imagine it? I think it would be funny if the random lady was just entirely wrong, literally. Who is she anyway? Like, tell me. This is my first time envisioning something like this, and yet it's been my dream all along. Your grandfather's the one who named it Hinamizawa syndrome, yes? That name will echo in every corner of this nation and will be carved into eternity. Carved into eternity. For all time. Indeed, your grandfather's masterpiece will be remembered forever. Isn't that the dream you've devoted your whole life to realizing? My grandfather's masterpiece will be remembered forever. Remembered. Forever. And yet, those pigs who couldn't understand turned your dream into a sacrifice, simply because of factional conflicts of interest. They're even trying to trample it into the ground. Just like how they kept trampling on your grandfather's article. See? You must be full of regret. The data you've worked so hard for is indeed the same as the article your grandfather did his best to produce. You can't forgive the people who laughed at it. You can't forgive those pigs who ridiculed your grandfather's masterpiece, right? Aren't I right? Oh, you know I am. But you didn't think about that because you're so kind as to not know how to condemn people, see? An indescribable emotion is filling me, making me feel like I'm suffocating. The sensation of being cautious and calm, of trust and mistrust, are all blending together. My heart is beating fast and my fingertips are shaking. Why am I at peace? Is it because she reminded me of my true dream, that I couldn't express with my own words until now? Is it because she made me aware of the anger within myself? Why am I hesitant? Is it because she's reminded me of things that I've never told anyone until now? No. Those are the things I've never even told myself. Hey, Mio-san. If what I'm saying isn't wrong, but is in fact completely true, I know I can help you with both your dream and revenge. What's the matter? Are you feeling all right? If that's the case, I shouldn't keep you. We'll take you to the nearest station. No. A small noise leaked pathetically out of my mouth, like a child apologizing for a prank. Did you say something? I know she heard me. The woman smiled, trying to make me say it again. That's not it. I'm doing perfectly fine. I'm glad. Let's continue then. If that is, in fact, my dream, then what can you do? I'll help you with both of your vengeances. One is revenge for your grandfather. We will make those people who ridiculed your grandfather's article humbly take it in their hands once again. The one they violated. The other is revenge against the board of directors for trampling over your research simply because of their factional conflicts. Revenge against the filthy pigs who tried to stomp on not only your work, but on your life as well. Getting revenge against the board of directors by having them read my grandfather's article. We'll be honest with you too. We're helping you because our interests are the same. We can't allow the project that Koizumi-sensei established for the sake of Japan's future to be eaten up by those lowlifes after his death. If we had more power, we wouldn't have allowed that scum to become involved at all. However, the wind started blowing in a different direction, and the project can no longer express Koizumi-sensei's ideals. It has to become a pigsty for them to satisfy their own desires. Koizumi-sensei, who gave them the name Alphabet Project, would not have wished for it to remain this way. The project should have been shut down the minute it deviated from its ideals. So you're trying to make the sacrificial sheep of the factional conflict into a wolf, are you? If you choose to keep your grandfather's article hidden away in your heart, then I won't force you. No, I won't let that happen. I don't mind falling to the ground myself. But at least, my grandpa's article. Don't you want to make the article that represents you and your grandfather's lives into something that'll last forever? After all, that's your dream, isn't it? That's right. That's my reason to live. We'll give you a chance to make your dream come true. On the night I decided I was a loser in life and drowned myself in tears and alcohol after being abandoned by everything, I met someone who could be an angel or a devil. I need to know who this is. Same, who? Is this divine salvation or the devil's seduction? I fought with the board of directors regarding the continuation of our research, but that was completely off target. That wasn't my true goal. My objective isn't to continue researching Hinamizawa syndrome. It's to have the world acknowledge my grandfather's research as a masterpiece. Somehow, the method for achieving that swapped places with my objective and caused me to misunderstand myself. The purpose of my life isn't to continue my grandfather's research. It's to get revenge and repay them for my grandfather's suffering. That's what this woman is saying. She's promising to make my grandfather's research eternal. She's also promising an opportunity to take revenge against those who laughed at it. When Uncle Koizumi died, I thought God was playing dice with my fate. Ma'am, literally? But my unshakable conviction gathered together a power stronger than God's die. So maybe this meeting happened for a reason. Curse you, God! You're testing me again. I will overcome the death of Uncle Koizumi, and I will make my grandfather an eternal existence by taking revenge against the God who tested me. I will, for certain. I will take my revenge. They're not gonna tell me. They better tell me later. I'm so... Ooh, how could they do this? Boo! Who is she? Okay, what is this? Oh. With this, do I have all the pieces lined up for 1983? It sure is a hard and exhausting job just lining up the pieces for the month of June. But finally, I'm at the starting line. Beginning from zero at last. Yet, seeing all these colorful fragments together, I realized just how many sentiments were entwined around June 1983. I used to think that thoughts of people with no relation to me were useless, but I was wrong. Rika Furude did her best to overcome the fate of June 1983. She did two things. One was to get in touch with the Iria Institute, because she knew she would be protected there. Ironically, Takano from the Iria Institute was the one who wanted to kill her, but it was the best move for her at the time. And the other was to ensure that the Maebara family moved to Hinamizawa. It actually wasn't certain that the Maebara family would move here. They first decided to move here when the father felt something sentimental at the sight of us on the day he came to view the properties for sale. Therefore, it was necessary for us to play in that field. It was the trigger for their Maebara family's move. It took me so long to find that out, though. After turning various conditions on and off repeatedly, I finally realized that meeting Keiichi's father at that field was the cause. Keiichi Maebara is a very important key for breaking Rule Z, one of the chains that was binding me. He's the fresh air that's powerful powerful enough to break all the old and evil customs in this village. He created many opportunities, but he also provided me with an important clue by letting me know that a strong conviction and the will to believe is what's important in standing up against a powerful fate. But I wasn't the only one who wanted him here. People in the Sonozaki family who wanted to wipe out the nastier traditions of the village also wished for him. Mion Sonozaki vowed to herself to protect Satoko and Satoshi because she was very much bothered by how irrational the treatment of the Hojo family was. And on the night Satoshi Hojo disappeared, she exploded at Oryo Sonozaki and voiced her true feelings. Oryo Sonozaki understood. Oryo herself had come to understand the wicked customs of the village and had been wanting to do something about it. But she didn't have the power to do so herself, so she entrusted it to the fresh air that was blowing in from the outside. That was why the lots went on sale, so the Maebara family could move in. Even if I danced in that field, if Oryo hadn't put the lots on sale, Keiichi couldn't have come. And Rena Ryugu, who provided many important opportunities for Keiichi Maebara, was saved by returning to Hinamizawa after the deep emotional trauma of her parents' divorce sent her into terminal condition. Keiichi Maebara's wish to restart his life was the same wish Rena Ryugu had a year prior. Maybe that's why Rena was able to understand Keiichi. It's like the miracle where one can recognize moments in a certain fragment from another fragment. If they can use the lessons learned from one fragment, then humans won't make those mistakes. The game pieces will make their best moves, and the chances of winning this game of June 1983 will rapidly increase. In other words, Rena Ryugu makes extremely important moves on this game board without realizing it. The mighty Rule Z that surrounded the Hojo siblings was eventually smashed by their actions. Of course, Satoko overcoming herself was also a big help. Their hands met not only because they reached from both sides, proof that Rena's best girl, true. Look at her, she's so happy. Keiichi and Rena are the ones who taught me that. Mion is the one who made it possible for them to move here, and she also helped them to become familiar with the village. That's not all. Irie is also an important piece with significant functions of his own. Feeling empathy for Satoko, he's the most influential piece on the board we call Hinamizawa Syndrome. His existence is capable of defeating Rule X. Keiichi and Rena's determination and subsequent awakening taught us that it was possible to fight against Rule X, but they didn't defeat it. Defeating Rule X requires the existence of Irie, who has the strong will to discover a cure for the syndrome. I didn't know Irie held this many thoughts within him. I always thought he was rather absent-minded. But he is in fact an important and powerful piece. So if we gather all this power, can we win against Takano's will? I've seen Takano's thoughts too. Sadly, her will is strong and can't be easily broken. It's no wonder our fate in June 1983 has been so hard to shake no matter how hard we fought. The sentiments I've been turning towards it pale in comparison to how many she's brought into it. The weight of our game pieces are different, because I've given up on fighting while she's been risking her life to fight on. I've spent time sulking and drinking wine to escape from reality. I must be a very light piece indeed. I can't win against Takano with what I have so far. I need more pieces to be able to win. The officer Ooishi once showed the possibility of becoming a strong ally, but he's under the misunderstanding that the Sonozaki family caused the death of his dear friend, so until that gets resolved, he won't be of any help. I don't know how I can resolve that misunderstanding, but I just have to believe in it and keep throwing the die. Just like Keiichi and Rena constitute a chance to change fate, maybe Akasaka has the power to create a chance as well. The curse of 1983 is tied to the curse of Hinamizawa. A curse can't be broken by inner power alone. It takes power from the outside as well. Both sides have to reach out, otherwise the hands won't meet. Just like what happened with Satoko. But Akasaka has never come to our aid. Even if he did, it was always too late. Too late. Far too late. But if I keep throwing the die, will Akasaka's game piece eventually appear? The final rule, Rule Y, involves the evil masterminds who are using Takano as their own game piece. Who is that? Akasaka is a police officer that came to Hinamizawa when Rika was like, very little. and he met her there, and she was like, this is what's gonna happen in the next, like, couple years, and then in this year, I'm going to die. And she asks him to help her. And he's like, oh, okay. But he only showed up once in all of the games that we played. Because Rika actually saved his wife from falling down the stairs at the hospital and dying. Yeah. So that was the ending when he actually showed up and he was like, hey, I want to help you because you saved my wife. But he ended up not being able to help because he was at a hot spring trip the night Rika died. So we'll see what he does this time, I guess. To defeat them, I need a very strong opponent for her. And the only one I could think of is none other than Akasaka from the police headquarters in Tokyo. There are more pieces who would lend me their power. I need to gather them all, otherwise I can't win against Takano. The preparation of the game board is complete, but I need more pieces. It's only the beginning. Google this right. I remember him, yeah. Very minor part, because he hasn't done a whole lot yet. We're waiting. Okay, game board is set up. Okay, wait. Himatsubushi, Onikakushi. Onikakushi, I assume we can do, because that's the first game. Aha! In order for Keiichi Maebara to become a game piece that can lead everyone, there's something he has to learn about first. That piece is very that's very painful, pitiful, and sad. He has to learn about his friends, and he has to learn to not doubt them. He doesn't know the importance of trusting his friends. He doesn't know just yet. Welcome back, Keiichi, indeed. A slight mistrust grows into paranoia, and Keiichi Maebara is trapped within Rule X. At the end of Rule X, Keiichi leaves a sad note and dies. While it may be very bitter and very painful, it also puts him through the process of learning something very important. Hey, Hanyuu, you didn't have to apologize. In the few days he left Hinamizawa to attend his relative's funeral, tragically, he experienced an outbreak. But I think this was necessary, as his first step towards learning something important. The very first step towards smoking out Rule X and eventually defeating it. When this piece was all I had, I didn't even think of that, though. So for those who don't know, in Onikakushi, the note that Keiichi left behind right before he died, it was a note to Ooishi, and it basically said, my friends are trying to kill me, so I'm gonna run away. Here's a syringe that they left behind, because Rana and Mion had like broken into his room and they were holding him down and about to inject him with something. Yeah, shout out the telephone box. But yeah, and then he ended up killing them both. And then he left the note, ran away, and then he went to the telephone box, and then he scratched out his throat and died. This game piece reminds us that no matter what happens on this game board, everything is due to the curse or the Sonozaki family pulling someone's strings. No, to put it in my words, this is the piece that makes everyone aware of the existence of Rule Z. It's hard to notice with just this piece, but this is a complicated fragment where Shion Sonozaki, while trapped in Rule X and mistaking it for Rule Y, is hurled about, comes to notice the existence of Rule Z. But this is also the piece that teaches us the rules of the game board. By the way, the piece called Shion Sonozaki is a piece coming from the outside, from the game's point of view. She dislikes Satoko Hojo at first, but through this and another piece, she learns something important, challenges Rule X, and then grows to be a powerful piece to fight Rule Z. The most ridiculous part of this fragment is that it's hidden so cunningly, and doesn't seem that way at all with just a passing glance. Learn. Learn from your mistakes. Please become a powerful piece and lend me your strength to defeat my enemies. I'm going in order of the games, by the way, so... Tatarigoroshi, haha. This piece shows us the existence of the unreasonable Rule Z surrounding Satoko, and reveals the most powerful adversary rule on the game board, Rule Y. Can the rules X, Y, and Z be seen now? The enemy we need to fight, the things we need to learn, all are gathered and revealed here in this fragment. At this point, it's impossible to reach Rule Y. Fighting against Rule Z's effect on Satoko is the best that can be done. But in this piece, we make a mistake in our approach for fighting it. The outcome we gain through erroneous means is erroneous itself. Keiichi Maebara learned that through his own experiences. A tragedy doesn't possess the power to overcome tragedy. Violence doesn't possess the power to overcome violence. If they can grasp that, all the pieces on this game board will learn the true way to fight. But Takano is too powerful. The shocking end of this piece doesn't allow us to learn it that easily. Is Mayakashi Game 4? I don't remember. Oops. I don't know. This is the piece of Shion Sonozaki, who goes mad after being taken in by Rule X. I think? Okay, I hope so. With no room for sympathy, this is such a painful piece that one can only have pity. It distinctly identifies the keyhole of the padlock called Rule Z. It's the first of the answer arcs? Wait, then I think I missed it, because we should be on 4. Oh well. I guess it doesn't matter. Keiichi Maebara becomes a key himself to pry open this padlock. And as Mion Sonozaki wished for, he becomes a wind that clears out the stagnant air filling this village. This piece also teaches us an important lesson. Shion Sonozaki learns through this piece and then becomes a strong ally for Satoko Hojo. In that way, maybe Satoko Hojo is a piece that represents the padlock for Rule Z. Unless she is saved, Rule Z can't be defeated. And when she is saved, that means Rule Z is defeated. This piece indicates only that. That's the only thing Shion Sonozaki learned by gambling her life. But now, I think that it's very important. Every time I see Satoko and Shion argue about pumpkins, I think about that. What is Game 4 called? Apparently that game was very unmemorable for me. Google the order, yeah. Those are the last two. Maybe it's fine. Oh, Himatsubushi might have been. This piece is the only one that's so distorted. That's because it's from long before June 1983. Oh, this is Game 4. Okay, this is Game 4. Therefore, the existence of this piece has no effect whatsoever in the game we're playing on this board. But is this really a useless piece? The identity of Rule Y has been completely exposed by now. With the backing of a mighty organization, it's powerful enough to swallow up the small solidarity of individuals. I almost give up on this game because of its irrational power. That's why I'm thinking that maybe there's a piece hidden somewhere that's strong enough to fight against such a formidable enemy. Mamoru Akasaka works at the police headquarters in Tokyo, and might have the power to stand up to such a vast conspiracy. Can his power withstand even Rule Y? Just like Keiichi Maebara defeated Rule Z, will he be able to defeat Rule Y so easily? We need everyone's strength, so Akasaka's strength is needed as well. We're back on the right order now. This game piece has a very important meaning for us, because it showed us for the first time that it was possible to poke a hole in the fate of June of 1983. To start from the conclusion, everything gets taken in by Rule Y at the end, and all our effort is wasted. But we're challenging the great law that governs the game board, Rule X, head on. We're using everything we've learned so far from the other fragments, which prove we could defeat it. We grow by learning. In a game with no hopes of winning, we could discover a slight chance of victory. This piece taught us that. With this game piece, Rule X was almost completely defeated. Keiichi Maebara and our other friends won't be led astray by something as pathetic as Hinamizawa Syndrome and dance in tragedy any longer. It has also taught us that the rules aren't indestructible and are possible to overcome. In other words, it has given us, the ones who are on the outside of the game board, hope. It's an important fragment that serves as our turning point and the trigger for everything else. It crashed?! Okay, hold on, my game just crashed. What?! Does that mean I did it in the wrong order? Wait, I'm so confused. What's going on? Game? Give it a shot. So it should be... Wait, is it Himatsu first? I think it might be okay, Himatsu, Meyakashi, Sumihoro. Yes, okay. Wait, let me... Where's the skip option? Skip unread text on. There we go. Oh my gosh, it worked! Let's go. Okay. Yippee! Okay, Meyakashi, and then Sumihoro. Let's go! Oh, okay, it worked, it worked, it worked! Okay. The game piece that uncovers the invisible Rule Y that has been pulling the strings from the beginning. Because the impression of that is so strong, it's easy to forget about something very important. We can't forget that this piece also shows the path towards destroying Rule Z. While Rika Furude lamented Rule Z as impossible to defeat, it was hardly a match for Keiichi Maebara and the others once they learned everything they needed to. They knew the correct way to fight, and fought according to the rules of the game board. As a result, we win, and that fact is more valuable than anything for us. Keiichi Maebara taught me a lesson. There is no need to subject ourselves to any fate. The will to believe can defeat anything. The fate that I was always subjected to was created by Mio Takano's own conviction. So what he says is correct. To defeat her conviction, we need a stronger conviction of our own. A strong will can be pierced only by another strong will. We defeated rules X and Z and then challenged the final rule, Rule Y, but we needed more pieces. Each piece fought at its best, but the strength of the enemy's pieces, led by Mio Takano, were just too powerful. She didn't even give us mercy. She squashed us completely and made us restart the game all over again. Although we lost, we didn't give up the resolve in our hearts, because we finally found the true culprit, and also found a clue for how to fight against her. We can't win with the pieces we have now. We don't have a powerful enough conviction or a strong enough will. Literally restart? I know, it's crazy. Was that actually intentional? But Hanyuu and I will keep trying. We'll roll our die repeatedly, looking for the greatest result, collect pieces and try again. With the will stronger than Takano. Didn't you think of giving up several times before you got to this point? But you made it because you believed in me and followed me here. We're almost there. We can do it. Let's create the last piece. It'll be the ultimate piece, and we won't need anything else. The very last piece of all. Come on, let's collect the pieces. Let's collect miracles. Please give us your hopes, Please give your hopes, desires, and dreams to me. Okay. Excited, me too. We're doing it. I'm still saving because I'm afraid. Okay. After collecting miracles from all 7 fragments, I finally got a hold of this one. This fragment holds our final fate. But before we take a peek, please wait for just a little bit. The fate that's inside will be decided the moment we take a peek. Have I told you about the story of the cat in the box? Is the cat in the box alive or dead? If you open the box, you'll know, but you won't know until you open it. It could be alive, and it could be dead. In other words, before you open the box, the living cat and the dead cat simultaneously coexist. Schrodinger's cat indeed! And the moment you open the box and find out the truth, the incorrect answer disappears. The inside of this fragment is the same principle. The future we desire and the future Takano desires simultaneously coexist. They're opposing and denying each other. Once we take a peek, one of those futures will disappear. If we have enough pieces, we could take a look inside this fragment. But we've only had the same pieces lined up the same way on the game board, and the game under the same condition was Takano's complete victory. We've already tried that in the Minagoroshi fragment. We need more pieces. We need the help of a piece that's powerful enough to defeat Rule Y. Until I get a hold of that piece, it's too scary to take a peek inside of this fragment. But how do I get such a piece? It's a piece I've never gotten a hold of before. To obtain it, I need to look just one more time. I need one more miracle to obtain that piece. Keiichi lock-in! I know! Oh my gosh! Leftover fragments. What is this? I never noticed this tiny little fragment. Sometimes Sometimes a fragment gets cracked and it breaks. Just like how the fate we believe in cracks sometimes. A damaged fate is no longer the same fate it was. Then which fate does this piece belong to? I picked up the tiny fragment and tried to match it with the fragments I have in my hand. And the last fragment I picked up was the Himatsubushi fragment. This fragment was distorted from the beginning. And look. See? This tiny piece fits perfectly. With this tiny fragment, how will the world change? What kind of miracle will occur? The whole world warped. Since I put the broken piece back where it belonged, the distortion centered on the crack. But that doesn't mean I can't take a peek inside. It's already past 1985. It's a time long after Rika Furude and her friend's stories tragically ended in June 1983. Beep. With some mild interference, an order crackled through their headsets. All units, the chief has a message for all of you, so listen up. Good work, everyone. The local police have given us 15 minutes to wrap this up, but I'm only giving you a few seconds. Don't let a single person escape. The main target is a diplomat. Don't let him suspect you're a cop. Just grab him. But make sure you leave no injuries. It'll lead to problems if you do. They're dirtbags who hide under diplomatic immunity to deal with the local gangsters. They launder money from drug dealing and force people into the sex trade to pay off high-interest debts. According to the local embassy, some of the victims are younger than teenagers. Dirtbags. Normally, this would be a simple case, what with the perpetrators being gangsters. But when the police found out that a foreign diplomat was involved, things got much more complicated all of a sudden. Diplomats have diplomatic immunity, so the police can't arrest them. But they knew he was an important figure in the whole scheme, and there was no doubt that he was the middleman between the foreign criminal organization and the Japanese gangsters. They couldn't let him escape. It'd be easy to deport him, but that wouldn't solve anything. The police had asked the embassy for assistance, but they denied the request. And the case was put on standstill at that point. That's when they found out that the organization was going to be selling the Self-Defense Force's classified radar and missile technology secrets. The Public Safety Division then had to move on the premise to protect this classified government information. And today was the day that operation was set to go. 2 men at the front stairs, 2 men at the underground entrance, 4 men at the back door. All suspects are believed to be armed. 2 more than usual, huh? It'll only take 2 seconds more for him. He never shows anyone mercy. Can you hear, Akasaka? You're on point. Be careful. Okay, let's move. This is Akasaka. I copy. Let's go. A man suddenly appeared around the corner downtown. It was Akasaka. He displayed none of the naivety that he did when he first met Rika. When he got to the entrance of the underground club, a bouncer with a heavy foreign accent stopped him. This place. Members only. Do you have membership card? Akasaka pulled a card out after being asked. It was a card that was very difficult to forge, so they could only get one. As the man on point, he was the one to receive it. The bouncer let Akasaka in after confirming he had a membership card. Akasaka-san passed the bouncer at the entrance. He's going down the stairs. Come on, Akasaka. At the bottom of the staircase, there was an overly decorated door like the ones you'd see at a high-class club. The venomous glow of the cocktail lights lit it up, silently warning everyone it was an entrance to a den of evil. Welcome. May I see your membership card? The guard at the entrance took the membership card and put it through the card reader on the wall. Beep. An error sound. Slight perspiration could be seen on Akasaka's forehead. The guard swiped the card a couple of times more. Beep. Beep. Akasaka-san is having a problem. Did they change the system? If Akasaka's encountering trouble, we'll change plans. Secure his safety pronto. The expression on the guard with him steadily grew dour. His right hand reached inside of his jacket, probably fingering his gun. Ding! The buzzer suddenly rang with a delightful tone, and the card reader flashed a green light. Immediately after that, the lock on the door opened up. Thank you for waiting. Please head on inside. The guard pulled his hand out of his jacket and opened up the heavy door. Loud music and flashing colorful lights spilled out from the inside. From within that, a well-dressed guard appeared to welcome Akasaka. At this moment, his first mission was accomplished. Having acted as the goal signal for the remaining units, Akasaka was also in the dangerous position of being in enemy territory all by himself. The door was the biggest obstacle for their ambush. The door locked automatically, so whenever it was closed, it was also sealed that way. It was a solid door and nearly impossible to open from the outside. Somebody had to go, not only open the door, but keep it open for several seconds in order for the raid to begin. Akasaka was the only one who could do that. Akasaka. Entrance secured. Commence operation! The complex on the other side of the club was getting a new tenant, and there were 2 trucks parked in front of the building. But of course, that was just a disguise. The door to one of the trucks opened, and several dozen plainclothed investigators jumped out. The same thing was happening at the back door, too. The ground-level guards noticed this and began to draw their guns, but were taken down immediately by nearby investigators who'd been pretending to be innocent bystanders. several dozen investigators quickly went down the underground stairs. These narrow underground stairs were another obstacle to their operation. Everything would end up on the security camera. Their raid would become known within a few seconds. For that matter, a push on the security button would make it impossible for the lock to be opened from the outside. That's why they had to secure the door before the ambush. The guards on both sides of Akasaka noticed the loud footsteps coming down the stairs. The well-dressed guard also realized that something was wrong. The three guards shifted their attention from Akasaka to the stairs behind him. And as he sensed that attention shift, Akasaka took a quick, deep breath and then stopped breathing entirely. The two guards standing beside him suddenly rose into the air in strange positions. Akasaka had determined his position relative to the two guards next to him, so he didn't need to check with his eyes. But even so, his fists had been driven into their faces with such precise accuracy. His moves were well-trained ones and showed no mercy against evil. They were as destructive as armor-piercing ammunition. And furthermore, Akasaka had retracted his arms at the same speed he struck. Everything looked so strange in the flashing lights. The man who witnessed all this probably couldn't figure out what had just happened. The two guards were up in the air in strange positions, and the man who had been standing in front of him was now crouching low. Then, that frozen moment shattered. The well-dressed guard was smashed into the ceiling, and shortly afterwards came crashing down onto the floor. Later on, while slurping liquid food, he would desperately try to remember whether it was a fist or a leg that broke his jaw. He would probably never quite recall it. Rather luckily, the way his body fell blocked the door, so Akasaka didn't have to hold it open any longer. "This is Akasaka. I'm going in." "Wait! Wait for your backup! Akasaka!" The room was filled with loud music, but everyone had already noticed the brouhaha at the entrance. "Everyone, get down!" As soon as Akasaka bellowed his warning, screams filled the club. Most people immediately hit the floor as if trying to proclaim their innocence, but all the guards reacted quickly to Akasaka. In the midst of all this, there were a few people who were trying to make their escape through the back alongside several guards. Akasaka restarted his breathing once again, and then stopped it again, and then ran after them like a wolf. He jumped up onto the table, smashing expensive bottles of alcohol and scattering glasses with ice cubes made from the icebergs of the Arctic. A foreign bodyguard, whose previous profession must have been a professional boxer, thoughtlessly stood in front of Akasaka. With a heavy accent, he tried to taunt his opponent, but Akasaka couldn't have cared less about that. The only display the man was able to put on for him was that he was able to block Akasaka's attack, but it wasn't even an effective guard. The power of Akasaka's punches were so incredible that they simply broke the man's bones in his attempt to block them. The man's arm warped in a strange way, and the moment after, the agony showed on his face. Akasaka's left arm ground into it. Akasaka, you see, is right-handed. That man should consider himself grateful that he was able to get away with a mere orbital fracture. Thinking that this was his chance, another man attempted to tackle Akasaka-san from behind. He assumed that no matter how strong a man was, he'd go down quickly when attacked from behind. He also assumed that Akasaka was concentrating in front of him. He wouldn't be expecting an attack from behind to begin with. But that would only be true if Akasaka was just concentrating on his front. Indeed, the attacker was very wrong, for Akasaka was no longer even thinking about the man before him. Akasaka knew exactly when and what was about to happen. The experience he had built up to this day taught him that. His body, more than his mind, remembered the timing for when menaces to society like these would make their move from behind him. Akasaka's attack continued fluidly from the left-arm punch that he struck against the ex-boxer. His left arm retracted, and at the same time, he arced his left leg around beautifully as it crashed into the man approaching him from behind. A dull sound signified that his nose had been broken, but Akasaka already knew that. Akasaka continued his motion and directed a decisive blow to the side of his assailant's head. The man slammed into the wall and bounced off of it, rolling on the floor. Akasaka took another breath. Under the glare of the dazzling club lights, the guards realized that they were up against a demon. Yes, they realized there was no way to take him down. The guards were being paid to deal with humans. Fighting demons just wasn't in their job description. At that moment, backup finally arrived. Maybe finally isn't a suitable word. Everything that happened did so over in a matter of seconds. The time it took for Akasaka to take down those 5 guards was a span of merely 2 breaths. "Put your hands above your head and get down on the floor! If you resist, we'll open fire!" Thanks to Akasaka's furious action, the flow of events was already set. Akasaka's intimidating first strike shattered the gang leader's will to run. They were all down on the floor, but one of them began smiling. "You shouldn't touch me. It'll lead to an international incident." Akasaka grabbed him by the collar and threw him against the concrete wall. "Aren't you a policeman? I have diplomatic immunity. I'm a diplomat." "Good for you. So how much did you get paid, huh?" "This'll be an international incident. I'll be calling the embassy." Ah! With a dragon-like roar, Akasaka's right fist pounded the wall right next to the diplomat's head. Immediately after that, his left fist pounded the wall on the other side of that head, and soon enough, Akasaka had pounded the wall 7 times, each just a sliver away from the diplomat. No embassy to call if you're dead, so true. His fists were easily powerful enough to crush the man's head. The diplomat crumbled to the floor. "This is Akasaka. Target secured." Further investigations discovered a secret getaway route that even public safety didn't know about. Dozens of Soviet military-grade machine guns were found, and if Akasaka hadn't stopped them there in that club, they would have escaped, or even worse, the operation might have ended with a brutal death toll on both sides. All thanks to how well Akasaka executed his duty, the operation was completed without a single shot fired. "Come on, hurry! The local police will be here soon. Put them on the truck." Since the foreign diplomat was involved, they had to make sure it didn't look as though the whole operation was carried out by the police. Instead, it was made to look like a simple gang war. They would dump the useless gang members and hand over the target to the police. Of course, before handing him over, they'd make sure he spilled everything he knew. That diplomatic pig would be used as a negotiation device by another part of public safety. They found plenty of evidence that said pig was tied to an underground criminal organization. Not wanting a persona non grata on their hands, the embassy would likely cut all ties with him. The rest would be the business of the other departments. Public safety's job was to take care of the things regular police couldn't deal with. "Akasaka, are you okay?" "Come in, Akasaka." "This is Akasaka. We're on our way." "You've done it again! Report to the chief to get reamed out later." "Akasaka-san, you sure are a demon. 5 men within mere seconds. That's not even karate anymore. Your fists should be recategorized as lethal weapons." "Hi Draven, how are you?" "Higurashi's going great. I think we may be able to finish today. I'm not sure. We're gonna try." "He sure was lucky none of them drew their guns though. Knowing how brutal Akasaka-san is, he could have turned them into honeycombs." "Yippee! Yeah, I'm excited." "Shut up. Don't make me sound like an assassin. I show no mercy against evil, that's all." The pigs he had just caught ugh, my voice, were no average criminals. They had committed so many unforgivable sins. The strength behind Akasaka's fists was proportional to those sins. The heavier their sins, the more powerful his blows would be. "Come on, round them up. Akasaka, make them hurry. The local police will get here quickly." "This is Akasaka. Understood." "Didn't you guys hear? Hurry up." "Roger! Command, we have 5 injured here. Please have meds ready." There wasn't any trace left of Akasaka's old naivety. He had grown to be the vigilant ace of his department. So is he gonna punch Takano? Is that what's going on? Is that what we're doing? Akasaka was training inside a dark dojo filled with the smell of sweat and mold. I hope he punches Takano. We'll see. The dojo was located in the middle of downtown, in a small building. It wasn't that big, and they weren't that well equipped either. It certainly didn't look like a dojo where a person as skilled as Akasaka would train. There were only 3 or 4 students there, including Akasaka. But this was the dojo he picked. To Akasaka, karate was certainly a weapon for crushing his enemies, but now he was seeking something further from it. Or maybe he deals with the mountain dogs. Oh, that's true. So Akasaka beats up the mountain dogs, and Keiichi beats up Takano. To achieve his goal, a dojo with many young students having actual physical lessons wouldn't work. He had gone to so many different dojos, and this was the only one he finally settled on. This was the one he finally... I can read.
Every time Akasaka punched a sandbag, the heavy thud of his punch and the clang of the sandbag's chain would echo. He wasn't just punching blindly. He thought first, developed those thoughts, and then punch. It was more of a deep and low vibration than a proper sound. Drops of sweat scattered and the dust welled up in the air. It was a perfect blow embodying the concept of one strike, one kill. But he wasn't satisfied. He closed his eyes, controlled his breathing as if he were trying to hear the cry of the cicadas, and then he punched again. From a beginner's perspective, it looked like he was taking breaks between each. The other students training on their own would glance over and sense a fearsome respect at his focused blows. I heard Akasaka-san works at the police department. Really? If someone like him is a police officer, I don't want to do anything bad. Still, his concentration sure is amazing. He never gets tired. On his days off, Akasaka came to the dojo in the early morning, and he silently trained all day. His training was no longer physical but mental. The other students were already aware that his continuous concentration was the secret of his strength. However, that was easier said than done. As long as a person lives, they are bound by countless ties and idle thoughts. For a person to submit all his will into such singular focus is more like trying to attain enlightenment than something in the realm of martial arts. Man has tried many different methods to achieve such enlightenment. And what we've learned is that there is no one way to reach it, and a path one takes can reach it if mastered. Karate is what Akasaka chose. The rumors say that his wife is dead. Supposedly he does karate to forget about that. Really? That's different from what I heard. I heard he couldn't save a girl on the job, leading him to realize his weaknesses or something like that. Hey, I can hear you. Quit talking about other people in train. Yes, sir! There was a small beeping noise. Somebody's watch was letting them know it was noon. Akasaka-san, we're going to get some lunch. Can we get you something too? Sure. I don't care what you get. Thanks. Akasaka was more pleased to be alone in the dojo than have anyone bring him lunch. When they left, silence filled the building. Crap. My focus dissipated because they were talking about me. But if that happened because of the bit of small talk, that meant he had much more training to do. He had to train much harder if he wanted to achieve enlightenment. He focused again and started to punch the sandbag, but the sound was a lot lighter than before, and obviously the strength in his fists was no longer there. Realizing that he needed to take a break, Akasaka pulled out a towel from his bag and sat down. The sound of cicadas soaked into his body. The windows were open, but there was no breeze coming in. Still, he could feel the cool air just a little. Just as they said, the reason Akasaka started karate was because of Yukia's death. Of course, losing against the suspect in that kidnapping incident was one reason too, but more than that, the pain from Yukia's death was what made him start. Yukiya fell down the stairs at the hospital and died while he was on a business trip in Shishibone. He couldn't get rid of that depression, so he started learning karate. But in June 1983, when the Great Hinamizawa disaster occurred, he realized something very important. A girl had predicted Yukiya's death, and in return, she wanted him to help her. Yukiya's death was an accident. He could have told himself that there was nothing he could have done. But as for the girl, Rika Furude's death was different. She knew about her own death 5 years prior. When the disaster occurred, he remembered Ooishi and called him to make sure he was okay. Then found out about everything. Realizing we have conflicting fragments. If she dies, he learns karate, but if she doesn't, then her... Oh, that's true! Wait. Oh, that's a really good point. So that means he can't beat up the mountain dogs. Oh no. We need Yukiya to die. When he was caught up, he fell into despair. Rika Furude was the turning point in his life. If he had believed what she predicted and did something about it, maybe Yukiya wouldn't have had to fall down the stairs. He took the oath to serve the public as a police officer, yet he didn't even notice the plea for help from a little girl. He shoved aside a conspiracy surrounding her until it was too late. He had 5 years to do something about it, but he didn't do anything, and she died. Visiting Hinamizawa for the kidnapping case of the minister's grandson was definitely the turning point in his life. If he had only listened to what that girl had said, Yukiya would have never died, and he could have been there to help Rika Furude. Those two things continued to haunt him. The investigation into the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa that he heard about from Ooishi was put on indefinite hiatus because of the disaster, but it was apparent to both of them that there was some conspiracy behind it all. To challenge such things, he needed all the strength and experience that he could muster. He was devoting himself to gain such strength, but it was too late. Everything had already ended. While he was stuck in this dilemma, the dojo instructor admonished him. There's nothing one can do about what's already done, so in that case, the only thing he can do is train diligently so that if the same thing is to happen again, he will be able to save a person in need. It's all too late. Everything is already over. Yukie died in an accident. Hinamizawa was destroyed in the gas disaster, and Rika-chan was murdered as her intestines were ripped out while she was alive. Crap! I was too obsessed with Yukie's death, and I couldn't hear the girls' pleas for help. You plan to play new psychological horror games in Nagari Chess School? Oh, I've never heard of that. Do you know if it's good? Also, welcome, Mineral Berry. Hope you're doing well. No. If I had listened to her, I could have prevented Yukie's accident too. Dang it. Dang it! Crap! As Akasaka clutched his hair and looked up, he noticed a small shrine overhead that protected the dojo. Akasaka respected both Shinto and Buddhism, but he never thought of praying to gods in times of despair. But for the first time, he felt like praying for help. If it was something he was capable of doing himself, he would never even consider praying. But as it was something he couldn't resolve on his own, he prayed. It was a very selfish wish. If his wish were to come true, everyone in the whole world would wish for the same thing. Please. Please, give me another chance to go back to that time. I swear. But this time, I will save the both of them. At that moment, Akasaka's body suddenly felt very light. No, it was more like he was losing balance, as if he was fainting. Perhaps it was because he shouted so loudly after training, and his brain was lacking in oxygen. But he couldn't take his eyes off the shrine. Hanyuu enters chat, let's go. Thank you, Akasaka. We needed your thoughts. Was this a hallucination? Akasaka felt like a stranger was talking to him. We must wish for a miracle, and you must wish for a miracle too. Otherwise a miracle will never occur. Unless everyone wishes for a miracle, it won't occur. Unless both sides reach out, their hands won't meet in the middle. He didn't know what she was trying to say, but somehow he felt like he couldn't miss a single word of it. He felt like it was something very, very important. Akasaka, if you wish for it, I'll grant you this miracle. And it'll be a miracle for us too. Joining these broken fragments will give us the chance to create an even greater fragment. Your resolve on its own may greatly influence everyone's fates and intentions. Can you turn back time to that day? No, I can't do that. The only thing I could do is to let you notice. To let you notice the things that you can't learn from one fragment, you can learn from others. So all you have to do is to return to this broken fragment. No, all you have to do is to return to this broken fragment to where it belongs. What? That's a big miracle itself, although you probably won't even notice it. Thank you, Akasaka. Thank you for remembering me. I don't even know how much time I've spent asking you for help, but finally it's reached you. So I'll say it one more time. Please help me. No. Please help us. So I guess him not knowing karate, if Yukie, is remedied by this remembering thing. I assume. Ooh! It's cracked! Who cracked my fragment? Alright guys, this is the home stretch. Pray for my voice. It was long. It really was long. Are you okay? Is your spirit still alive? Maybe Hanyuu cracked it? I guess so. Do we have all the pieces we want lined up on the game board? Is this everything we have that could go up against Takano and her minions in the game of fate in that June of 1983? I think maybe we have everything. And last but not least, Hanyuu, it's you. The time you have left to be a piece is limited, but that doesn't mean you can't show up in the game. Shall we begin? I've put in hundreds of years just for this moment. I forgot to save! Oh my gosh. Surely it'll be okay. Wait! I got an achievement! It said it's all coming together, we completed the puzzle! Okay, we're fine. Someone once suggested that believing is like placing a bet with coins of hope. In other words, believing means taking a risk. You gain something if you win, but you lose something if you fail. As with any gamble, we try to make sure we win and then bet a coin. Let's go! But as with any gamble, there's no guarantee of victory. Sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose. And that's how you increase the number of coins you have. But if you keep losing, you don't want to continue gambling. It's then that you realize that if you don't gamble, you don't have to lose anything. Not gambling on anything is the same as not believing in anything. 90% of gamblers quit before they hit it big. SMH. This is literally saying, guys, you should gamble. It's crazy. Not believing in anything is the same as not involving yourself in anything. And not involving yourself in anything is the same as not existing. Therefore, she didn't exist. The one coin she had in her heart was the last one. If she lost it, she'd disappear. That was why she was hesitating to make a bet. She'd been running, trying not to get involved in any type of match because she was afraid of betting it by accident. But just like in a game of poker, she could lose her coin by folding. She tried not to lose her last coin, but that meant she was going to lose it eventually anyway. There was something she didn't know. Actually, I didn't know it at the time either. The more coins bet into the pool, the higher our chances of winning this game. In other words, the more frightened we are, the more we'll keep losing the game before us. It's just like carrying a portable shrine. It's impossible to carry such a heavy thing by oneself. But when people put their strength together, they can lift it easily. There's a clear borderline between too heavy to lift and easily lifted. It's just like how the balance on a scale tips with just a little weight. The more you gamble, the more you might win! It's true, technically. The big, heavy shrine before us couldn't be lifted. Everyone tried their hardest to raise it, but couldn't. I didn't help because I was sure it couldn't budge. I don't participate in games I know I can't win, so I didn't bet my coin. But that was wrong of me. Maybe the portable shrine could have been lifted if I joined. For the longest time, I'd been pretending to be a bystander. I always thought I was just there to find out if my coin was worth betting or not. But that was wrong. I'm not just an onlooker, nor should I be a bystander. I should have participated. The game I've been facing doesn't look like a game I can win. It doesn't look like a game that's worth betting on. But by betting on it, or by participating in it, or by believing in it, the outcome might change. To gamble on something is the same as to believe in something. To believe in something is the same as to be involved in something. To be involved in something is the same as to exist. Therefore, she existed. What a wild moral of the story, yeah. Okay, everyone, homeroom is starting. No more chit-chatting. Class rep, go ahead. All rise. Bow. Good morning. Sit down. Rattle, rattle, rattle. It's an ordinary morning. The only difference is that it started a little later than usual. Chie-sensei normally arrives in the classroom right away, but she's a little late today. Why was she late for homeroom? The rumors were already stirring about the classroom before she arrived. Chie-sensei gave a cue, and a girl peeked into the room timidly. Hello. This is a new student, Hanyuu Furude-san. She's going to be joining us starting today. Wow! The voices of welcome, delight, and surprise all mixed together and filled the classroom. Baby girl, look at her, she's so cute!
Furude? Is she related to Rika-chan? Yes, she is. She's my distant relative.
Why, that's quite a surprise even to me! I was uninformed that Rika had relatives. Hey, this old man didn't know either. Well, the three families are rather complicated. I wouldn't be surprised if I had distant relatives myself.
But she sure does look related to Rika-chan. Oh, what a cutie!
Oh. All my classmates had gotten excited. The new girl looked rather intimidated by it all. Rika-chan is rather carefree, but this Hanyuu seems like the complete opposite. Who is talking? Is it Keiichi? She's more like a shy woodland animal. The exact type that Rana loves. Look, see? Rana's ready to swallow her whole. Okay, Hanyuu-san, please introduce yourself. Settle down, everyone. Go ahead, Hanyuu-san. Chie-sensei left the podium and encouraged Hanyuu to take over. Rena knows what's up. Look at her, she's so cute. But even greater pressure of the silence left her standing there timidly for a little bit. Well, that's understandable. It's very nerve-wracking to watch, though. I'm Hanyuu Furude. I'm Rika's relative.
Meep. She's my relative. Please be nice to her.
I don't want to say Rena's competition, but look, she's so cute. She's so cute. Rika-chan can tell that she's too nervous to introduce herself. She's right to break the silence. Pressuring her like that isn't fair. Which is why I decided to make it more lively.
You're called Furude just like Rika-chan, huh? Now we have 2 Furudes in this class. Then how about we call her Hanyuu-san? If we call her Furude-san, Rika might think we're addressing her, don't you think?
We generally call each other by our first names here. She's one of us starting today, so we should call her by her first name too. Okay, it's decided. We'll call you Hanyuu. I'm Mion Sonozaki, the class president. Call me Mion, okay?
Oh, I'm Satoko Hojo. Very pleased to meet you, Hanyuu-san.
I'm Daiki Tomita. My parents run a tofu shop. Please come by anytime. I miss the starting game energy. It's so cute and wholesome. I'm Suguru Okamura. Please ask me if you don't know anything.
Hello, let's be friends, okay? What grade are you in?
Our classmates fell over each other to introduce themselves. Everyone tried to get her to remember their names so they could be friends. A friendly atmosphere swelled in the room. I've only just transferred recently myself, but this is exactly how it was on my first day too. I remember how nervous I was and how much I appreciated this as a result. I know more than anyone how nerve-wracking it is to be a new student. I should look after her.
I agree. We'll have to help her blend into class quickly.
Right, you were a new student last year, huh? Were you nervous on your first day too?
Yep, but Mi-chan and the others were so nice to me that I got used to the class pretty quickly.
Well, yeah. To welcome a newcomer to the village is one of the 3 families' important duties. You only mention the 3 families when it suits your purposes, but it's true that you all helped me to get used to such a different environment. In that case, doesn't that mean it's your turn to look after her, Ke-chan? Yeah, I thought so too. Rena was a new student, but she looked after me when I got here, so it's my turn to look after the next new student. A new student always dramatically changes the atmosphere of a class. Even my attitude has changed. We decided to gather around Hanyuu during lunch break. Okay, remember, you can only ask Hanyuu 1 question each, okay? Why don't we ask her some personal questions so we get to know her better? Let's see, who will be the first to go? What's your favorite food? Oh, I like sweets. My favorite kinds are cream puffs.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love cream puffs too. There's a very good sweet shop in Okinomiya. I'll take you there sometime.
Okay, boys, did y'all hear that? If you want Hanyuu to like you, get her some cream puffs, okay? Not the cheap ones, though. Get her something expensive. Let's see, who's next? If there's no one else, I'll ask her what color her underwear is today. Oh. Everyone kept asking Hanyuu questions, and she looked all panicky again. I guess this is like a traditional ceremony for the new student. I remember this is exactly how my first day went. Mion and Satoko seemed amused, so it must be the same for them too. She's gaining favorite points fast, she's so baby. I noticed Rena watching the scene before her with a distant look in her eyes. She's probably remembering her first day too. Are you recalling what it was like?
Yeah.
Were you thinking about something else? You aren't thinking about taking Hanyuu home, are you?
How? No way! I'm not thinking that since Hanyuu-chan likes cream puffs, and since I have some good cream puffs at home, and that she should come over or anything like that. I'm taking her home with me.
If she doesn't come to school tomorrow, it'll be your fault, Rena.
Oh, that's mean.
As we watched Hanyuu and our classmates have fun, Rena and I laughed together.
Hey, Keiichi-kun, this sure is great, huh?
Yeah, it is. It's great to meet a new classmate.
No, not that. I mean, I think I've seen her a few times before.
Hanyuu? Maybe you saw her when she and her family came to look at the area before they moved here. You sure have a good memory, Rena.
No, it's not like that. Hanyuu-chan has been here for a long time. She's been right beside us all the while, watching us play together. For ages now. Huh? Is it just me? Didn't you notice Keiichi-kun?
Ren already remembers all according to Keikaku. She's so big-brained. No, I haven't seen her before. So, are you saying that you've met her before, Rena? From what I could see, this is the first time Mion and Satoko have met Hanyuu. If she's being that close to us like Rena... Oh, if she's been that close to us like Rena said, it's impossible that none of us would remember her. Are you sure? Besides, Hanyuu is a transfer student. She couldn't have been here in this village that often.
Do you think so? I swear I've seen her pretty often.
It's your imagination. Even Hanyuu just said she was living far away before she moved here.
But I've seen her before. Oh.
Rena looked like she was trying to remember more. It's probably one of those deja vu experiences. Although it's the first time you see something, it feels like you've seen it before. Oh well, just forget about it. She's here now, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, she always seems so eager to join us, so I'm glad that she's one of us now.
Rena smiled with tears in her eyes. When I looked over at her, Rika-chan was wearing the same expression. It made no sense to me why those two looked that way. But as soon as Satoko came over and pulled a prank on me, I forgot all about it. See you later! These are the words that signal the best time of the school day. As soon as the last period ended, my classmates ran out of the room. Hanyuu was popular all day today. She's Rika-chan's age, so all the lower grade students gathered around her. Older students like me and Mion didn't have a chance to get close to her. Well, I'm sure they'd rather have a new student who's their age than a scary-looking older guy.
That's right! You look so scary at first, Keiichi-kun. It was probably because you were nervous.
Hey, that's mean! Oh gosh. I was trying to be friendly so I could get along with the class.
You were far from friendly. You slapped me upside the head on your first day, Keiichi-san. Don't you recall?
That's because of how I was treated on my very first day. There was a thumbtack on the seat of my chair and even a frog in my desk.
We heard there was a new student in the teacher's office, so we went to take a peek. We saw you there and you looked so nervous that Satoko must have thought she wanted to do something to help you relax. Oh. As your elder, I was being considerate, you see.
That's impossible. Although, that blackboard eraser trap sure did help to ease my tension. But Satoko will be so pleased with herself if I tell her that, so I'll never admit it.
Hanyuu-chan must have gone home with everyone else. I'm sure she's still popular even after school.
Still, your first day at a new school is always really exhausting. I'm sure she'll sleep very well tonight.
I'm quite sure too. Oh.
Okay, everyone. It's been a while since I've been busy with work quite a bit lately. It's time for a club meeting.
I've been waiting for this. It's been so long since I've gotten rusty. Beep. I've been bored because I haven't rubbed a loser's head in a while. Oh, I won't lose. I won't be holding back just because it's been a while.
Heh. You sure have pent-up frustrations, huh? Great, that makes things even more interesting. Heh. Everyone's motivated, huh? You better watch out, I'm in top form today. Mion, you're gonna wish you went to work instead. Mion's had to work quite a bit lately because her uncle's shop is short on staff. So we haven't done any club activities for a long while. For us, club activities are the main reason we come to school. In a way, we live for these few hours after school. If there are no club activities, there's no point in coming here at all. So it only makes sense for us to be excited about getting to have a meeting again. I guess none of us will be satisfied with an ordinary game. What should we play? Mion looked into the club locker. I'm always curious about what's in that locker and how much of it there is. I swear there's more in there than it can realistically hold. Just then, we heard the door open.
Oh? Hanyuu-chan?
Oh, hello.
What are you doing here? Did you forget something?
I thought she'd already gone home. Did she forget her lunchbox or something? It's not that big of a deal to forget a textbook, but you can't forget a lunchbox. Oh. Hanyuu, what is it? Are you looking for something? Hanyuu looked at us apologetically. What is it? Are we in the way? She kept staring at us timidly. Are we sitting in Hanyuu's seat? No, that's not it.
What is it, Hanyuu-chan? Can we help you? Can we?
Oh. Rena talked to her, but there was no communication to be had. Almost like trying to have a conversation with a stray cat. What is this? Hanyuu was fixated on something. I followed her gaze and found Rika-chan. Hanyuu's apologetic gaze was directed at Rika-chan.
Meep.
Oh.
I won't say anything. If you want it, you need to say it yourself, Hanyuu.
Oh. With that, I finally figured it out. Hanyuu wanted to say something, but she didn't know how to say it, so she wanted Rika-chan to say it for her. But Rika-chan told her to say it herself. In other words, we need to listen to what Hanyuu has to say. We patiently waited for Hanyuu to speak up. But when I think about what happened this morning, I realized this kind of silence makes her even more nervous. Rena, noticing that, talked to her in a sweet tone of voice.
What is it, Hanyuu-chan? Can you tell me? I'll help you.
Oh.
What is it? Can you say it one more time?
Oh.
Eh?
Rena raised her voice. What? Let this old man know too. What is it?
Are you sure? What could it be? Please share it with us all. Well...
I want to join your club.
Eh?
Hanyuu said it loudly as if to shake off her embarrassment. Now that's a surprise. Where'd you hear about us? Oh. I want to join. I want to join your club.
Very good. You did a great job. Clap, clap, clap.
Rika-chan must have known that Hanyuu wanted to join the club all along. Mion folded her arms with a smile and stared at Hanyuu as if appraising her. Needless to say, Hanyuu was intimidated. You're awfully reckless, jumping into mortal peril by choice. But our club isn't just any old club. Only a select few are allowed to join, and that's only after passing a gruesome trial. Just because you want to join doesn't mean you can, you know.
Look, Hanyuu-chan. Mi-chan's club might look fun, but, oh, you know, it's not that easy.
Oh, I already know that.
You have to win. Otherwise, you don't know what might happen. Are you sure you're aware of that?
Oh, I won't lose. Besides...
Hanyuu swallowed once and said what was on her mind. It sounded like a big thing to say for her, as though it had a much deeper meaning.
I used to hate to lose, so I always ran away from every game. But running away is even worse than losing. I can win only if I continue to fight, despite the pain of failure. That's something I've learned.
Hanyuu.
When Mion realized that, although she looked timid, Hanyuu was actually very courageous, she grinned. Hanyuu's a winner, she is! The little winning girl, look at her go! I'm proud of her, she's grown so much. Looks like she's grown fond of her. Well, well, she's got guts. How about it, Mion? Why don't we let her try, huh? Let her take the entrance exam. Hehehe. It usually takes more than a few weeks to determine if one is even qualified to take the exam, and yet she wants to take it on the first day. What should I do? Mion pretended to be stubborn, but in reality, she was simply playing with her. If she actually didn't want her to join, she would have refused her right away. Of course, if Hanyuu was bothered by this kind of intimidation, she wouldn't be able to survive in this club. Just like Rena and Satoko said, our club is relentless. Winning should be your utmost goal. Always aim for first place, and if you come in last, you'll wish you were never born.
Oh, I'll do my best.
The punishment for losing is actually kind of fun too.
Hanyuu-chan, you've been watching the whole time, huh? You've been wanting to join for the longest time, huh? I got the oh, that was Rena. Okay. I got the feeling that Rena had just mumbled something like that. Come on, Mion, let her try. I got in by going through that too, you know.
Quite true. Let us see what Hanyuu-san is made of. Have fun, Hanyuu-chan. I won't hold back, okay?
I won't hold back either.
I'll only give you my best, Hanyuu.
Whoa.
Very well. Hanyuu Furude, you're on. You're allowed to take the entrance exam. Okay then. We'll have to choose a game that Hanyuu knows how to play. What would be good? Oh, hehehe. What about this? Mion threw a deck of cards onto the desk. Does this mean... We'll play a game that everyone knows. How about Old Maid?
Oh, that's fine.
There she goes. This is exactly what I had to endure when I went through this entrance exam. This is the marked tile deck.
Oh, that's a very enthusiastic response. However, our club's version of Old Maid is a little different, no?
Most of the cards have scratches on the back, so by memorizing the scratches, you could tell what card it is. In other words, the more you played this game, the better you are at it. This is simply our way of being mean to newcomers.
Hanyuu-chan, you can do it! This is a trial! Oh! Go for it, yay!
This sure brings back memories. I had to go through this too. It just happened recently, but I still feel so nostalgic. However, that doesn't mean I'll go easy on you. Just like how merciless they all were when I did the exam. I'll put everything I've got into this.
The more you gamble, the more you win. Higurashi knows what's up. True.
Right, everyone?
Prepare yourself, Hanyuu-san.
Here we go. If you want to join, let us see what you got.
Roger!
Heh. I'll call your hand from the right, okay? Ace, 3, 4, 7, Jack, and Queen.
It's too late to hide now.
Oh.
Sorry, Hanyuu-chan. This is the Ace of Spades, right? I'm out.
Mwahaha! Do you get it, Hanyuu? This is the entrance exam for our club.
Me. Keiichi's putting his leftover grudge from his own entrance exam into this game.
Come on, Ketchan. Are you sure you should be saying things like that? Hanyuu, take Ketchan's card on the right. That's what you need to win.
Oh, I'm done.
What? That's not fair. Okay, I'm dead serious now. How dare you make me mad? Hanyuu, do you want to go home on a leash wearing shorts with a tail on them on your first day?
My. I think you would look better in them. I think you would look better in them, Keiichi-san.
Get cooked, Keiichi. He deserved it.
Oh, yes. And I'm going to take him home with me.
I'll make him do the punishment.
Heh. That's a great idea. I'm in too. Hey, you guys. Why are you picking on me, huh? Fine then. I'm going to make all of you do it.
They're so silly.
Okay, this is the banquet section. Can you hear me? One more speech and then we'll move on to a toast. Are you ready? This is the back end. We're ready. We can't hear anything from the inside, so please give us a cue when the speech is finishing up.
I miss wholesome Higurashi. I know, it's like when they give it to you, you're like, oh man, this again? I want to get to the actual story. But after a lot of actual story, it's like, oh, I miss this.
10 bottles per table, okay? Make sure you serve your table smoothly. Young waiters with bow ties got bottles of beer ready for a toast. There are several dozen tables with white tablecloths on them in the banquet room. Approximately 8 people are sitting at each table, so there are at least a few hundred people in there. The banquet room is teeming with excitement. There are many plates with different kinds of food on each table. A sushi platter, a sashimi platter, a fruit platter. Also, along the wall, there are cooks ready to serve fresh sashimi. All the guests appear to be well-mannered gentlemen, and obviously, they are notable people from different fields. The huge and beautiful chandelier above them clearly tells that this hotel holds a status good enough for these famous people. An elderly gentleman is giving a long speech on the stage before making a toast. Usually, people don't like such long speeches, especially if it's before a toast. But the guests are actually excited with this speech. Well, maybe fervor was a pleasant way to put it. It was probably more accurate to say their excitement was bizarre. Anyway, Japan accepted the demand for unconditional surrender, and the day they did, the Pacific War ended. In other words, even if they had to take care of further business, the war ended that day according to international law, and from that day on, there was peace. Therefore, if any troops invaded Japanese land during that peace, that would be an encroachment against Japan. No matter what the Soviet Union says, the Northern Territories are Japanese land, and it should be clear to everyone that they invaded illegally. Hear, hear! And now they want to settle by returning a mere 2 islands to us? Who do they think they're kidding? Listen, Habomai, Shikotan, Kunashir, and Itaru were Japanese territory. Their total area is equal to an entire prefecture. What would you think if the Soviets invaded and occupied one of our prefectures? Would you settle for just getting half of the prefecture back? No, you wouldn't. You'd have the entirety returned to you. Yet the Soviets are brazenly sitting there claiming vested rights to the land. This is no joke. We must strongly oppose this to the bitter end. Return all the northern islands. Our nation must demonstrate unwavering resolve on that point. Thunderous applause filled the banquet room. All the gentlemen agreed and expressed that they felt the same way by cheering him on. In all that hubbub, there were 2 people standing by the wall who didn't seem to fit in with the rest. They were wearing sharp-looking suits, and while a little too old to be called young men, they were certainly young compared to all the elderly gentlemen in the banquet room. Why do politicians always tend to lean right or nationalist, and be so partisan? It's simple. What politicians want most are votes, and votes are casted by their constituents. I don't know how to say that word. But not everyone over 20 actually votes. Voter turnouts is highest among those who are retired and have free time, so the elderly interested in politics monopolize the votes. And that means the key to their election is whether or not they can secure the elderly vote. The war only happened 40 years ago. In other words, the generation that's interested in voting is the generation from before the war. My mother talks about air raids often. She used to live near Suidobashi, and she lost all of her family in an air raid. She had to walk across the burnt fields all alone. That's right. Our parents went through the war. They shed their blood, sweat, and tears, believing it was for the good of the nation. Constituents. Thank you. I appreciate it. We lost the war, but they believe the war still brought about change that serves as a foundation for the peace we have today. I hear that a lot. That if Japan hadn't fought in the war, the Asian countries would still be Western colonies. There was no way we could have won, but we needed to fight in that war, or something like that. In that case, no matter how much they preach pacifism, politicians can't ignore the pre-war generation. War is bad, and we should never fight against it. We should never again fight a war, but that war was necessary. Unless they say things like that, it's like they're denying the very lives that generation lived. Why are there lyrics to this BGM? I see. Politicians have to work hard to earn votes, huh? However, it would be one thing if they were truly proclaiming their own beliefs, but many of them are simply saying that to get elected. As long as there are politicians trying to win over what remains of the pre-war generation, this country's post-war era will never end. That's how the ghosts of the war will pass their will on to the next generation and keep things the same for the next millennium. Don't just keep repeating the war was justified yet regrettable every time an election takes place. When will our country ever be freed from that cycle? Getting funky is real. It's simple. Young people need to vote. Don't be fooled by the war stories. Vote for those actually pushing policies. Realistic policies, that is. Yeah. There's a few who talk about some pretty unrealistic things. Akasaka-san, isn't that the F table? There she is. Let's go. Wait, are they getting Takano right now? The speech had ended, and the elderly gentlemen were giving the man on the stage a standing ovation. The two men walked through the crowd and approached an old lady in a kimono. Never mind. Is that audio?
Yes, that would be me, but who are you?
I made an appointment with you on the phone yesterday. I'm Akasaka. Yeah, what is this? What's going on? I'm so confused.
Ooh. My husband worked so hard for this country. Even so.
Madam, I understand what you're going through. This wasn't really anything out of the ordinary. Nobody could remember if there had been a donation or not. So a handful of politicians were questioned. As a result, some came up with a scheme to blame a sickly elderly man who had already retired. With only a short time to live anyway, he was the perfect fit for them. The elderly man had already been sick in bed, and the shock of his friends betraying him had taken away his will to live. The only thing his wife could do was simply watch him suffer. She kept crying while telling the men about her husband's achievements. Your husband is in fact innocent. A judge will rule accordingly. Don't worry. All false accusations will be cleared.
I already know that, because he is innocent, but he won't live to see the verdict. He worked so hard for this country, and this is what he gets in return at the end. How can he rest in peace?
Akasaka nodded and tried to find the right words to say to her. His colleague rummaged through a pile of paperwork behind him. The papers were filled with fine print, and it would be hard for an onlooker to tell exactly what they were. However, the way he was looking at them made it very clear that they contained something important. Akasaka-san, this is amazing! This records exactly how the money was moved. Akasaka gave him a signal to remind him that this wasn't the place to be looking through those documents. Madam, there isn't any more paperwork, is there?
No, that was the only thing in his safe. Please, use it to get back at those ungrateful people. My husband did so much for them, and yet they... Oh!
Madam, you do understand that some things in these documents will implicate him, don't you?
Yes, I understand that. One can't be honest all the time when one is a politician. I am his wife, after all.
Thank you for your cooperation. I'll use this to expose the injustice that was done to him.
Only one thing. May I ask you just one thing, though? Could you wait until my husband passes away before making this public?
The paperwork Akasaka received was something her husband intended to take to the grave with him. Something that shouldn't exist in this world. If it went public, her husband's name would be disgraced. Akasaka nodded. I understand. You have my word. Vast public funds were moving from Kasumigaseki. The funds were issued to sub-branches to carry out national policies. But various ideas over those public funds always came together, and there was never an end to those trying to poke a straw into it and suck it out like a mosquito. Excess dividends, cordial patronage, profits for organizations that benefited themselves. Many financiers approached and adhered to officials and politicians hoping to earn those gains. And the bureaucrats constantly indulged them. That's how Japanese corruption works. These illegal pipes form bypass after bypass in Kasumigaseki, siphoning off of public funds for their profit. To find and destroy such pipes is, of course, in the national interest, but eliminating illegal expenditures isn't as simple as all that. There are important people connected to those pipes, and when those people are investigated, a major political scandal takes place. The reason why the government doesn't investigate such illegal expenditures is not only to protect vested interests, but also because they are conscious of the damage these scandals can cause politically. To put it more succinctly, the government can't endure the pain of pushing pus out of a wound. The closer the exposed subject is to the top, the greater the pain faced by the government, and that affects the cabinet approval rating. The closer the subject is to the core, the more extensive the damage to the heart. The secret investigation Akasaka was leading went as close to the heart as it got, and could cause a collapse of the administration from shock. Akasaka was tipped off that a huge amount of public funding was leaking out through an alumni organization of the 7 imperial universities, so he and his colleagues had been conducting a secret investigation into the matter for a long time. His target was tightly knit, but he learned that the wife of one of the organization's senior members bore strong resentment towards them after her husband was made their scapegoat and managed to contact her. And because of that, he had gotten his hands on extremely important information. Good work, everyone. We've almost gathered enough proof. What Akasaka-kun brought us is particularly shocking. You must have worked hard to get it. Great work. Thank you. The small meeting room was filled with boxes that were, in turn, filled with documents. A whiteboard was filled with cramped writing, too. A few of the investigators in the meeting room, which was also filled with smoke, were reading the documents intensely. Their intimidating manner clearly indicated they were police officers with a great deal of experience. Akasaka was one of those men. It had been a while since Mamoru Akasaka was transferred to this department. When he worked on the case of the kidnapping of the Minister Inukai's grandson, he had been a rookie, but by now he was an experienced investigator. After a knock on the door, an elderly man entered the room. Everyone straightened up all at once. Sir, thank you for stopping by. Thank you. You don't need to stand. Relax. I brought a wonderful gift for you all today. Kano, you'll get to go to your son's Parents' Day meeting after all. The meeting room was filled with sighs and tinged with exasperation and resignation. It certainly wasn't because any of them hated getting to go to Parents' Day. I knew it. I thought it was about time. Crap, Akasaka's colleague complained. They'd been so close to getting to the root of the issue. They had such strong evidence. Akasaka, on his part, wasn't too disturbed. This had happened several times in the past, and considering how hot the documents he obtained were, it was easy enough to predict. The case was suddenly transferred to another department. That meant their investigation ended here. The new department was supposed to continue the investigation to expose injustices, but that's never happened once before. It was just an excuse. The investigation had been terminated because of pressure from above. Dang it! What about everything we've worked for so far? It was just to see how much it'd hurt to push out the pus. They realized it would be too painful, so they decided not to treat the wound. In that sense, their hard work wasn't wasted. Because of it, the investigation was terminated. Akasaka understood that, but his colleague wasn't yet mature enough to understand. Of course, Akasaka's sense of justice was displeased by this. He felt frustrated with his superiors, who had hesitated to expose the truth. But he was mature enough to know not to say that out loud. We'll organize what we have and hand it over to the other end later. Anyway, since you haven't had a day off for a long time, you don't have to wait until 5 p.m. to leave today. Please go home and get some rest. We'll talk about what's left to do tomorrow. Also, don't forget to use up your vacation time, too. Make sure to take a vacation and give a treat to your spouses. Please come with me. That'll be all. Yes, sir! Though his long, secret investigation left a bad taste in his mouth with its resolution, he managed to earn a holiday until the next incident arrived. Well, I guess we'll do as he says. Everyone, go home and get some rest. If you go home that early, you might find out your wife is having an affair, you know. Idiot, you don't know anything. Akasaka-san and his wife are madly in love. He calls her every night from a public phone in a different building. I envy you, Akasaka. My wife's pretty cold. Akasaka smiled bitterly as he gathered the documents in his hands. One of the pages fell to the floor. It was a page from a huge pile of papers documenting illegal expenditures. They exposed the illegal expenditures of the Alphabet Project, the research team for the next generation of hardware in the Defense Agency. It was entirely possible that this project was created in the first place for the purpose of funneling these illegal expenditures. When he saw the paper, one thing caught Akasaka's eye. He picked it up, looked at it, and tried to remember. It was a list of people who illegally received public funds. It was also a list of retirees who were still very much in love with money. There should have been no connection between those people and Akasaka. However, there was one thing that caught his attention. Media Clinic. As soon as he said it, all sorts of memories resurfaced. Yes, the Idia Clinic. When he was working on the case of Minister Inukai's grandson's abduction, he got into a scuffle with the suspects and became injured. He was taken to the local clinic. As he recalled, the name of that clinic was the Idia Clinic. He started to remember one thing after another. His very first experience with wading into the muck. It was burnt into his mind like a fresh memory, and he could vividly recall everything that happened. His daughter was about to be born, and he really didn't want to go to Hinamizawa. He met Ooishi, who taught him a lot of important things. He also met a girl in that village. Her name was... yes, Rika Furude. That was it. How long had it been? How old was she now? As he remembered her lovely smile, he also remembered the ominous prediction she made. She had predicted that if he didn't go back to Tokyo, something terrible would happen. At the time, he took it as nonsense, but he felt something odd about it, as if it was a divine omen. Then he remembered that he had remembered Yukie, who was about to give birth. He became concerned that something terrible would happen to her. But he couldn't just leave and go back to Tokyo. That's why he called her right away. He told her something would happen. He told her to be very careful until he returned. Yukie had laughed and told him he was being paranoid, but that phone call indeed saved her from a calamity. Akasaka had found out about that when he visited her after returning to Tokyo. A few days after his phone call, a janitor was seriously injured when he stepped on a loose tile on the stairs on his way to the rooftop. He also heard afterward that Yukie had a habit of going up to the roof for a walk every day, but because of his phone call, she had stopped doing it. If he hadn't called her, she would have been the one to step on the loose tile. In other words, Rika Furude's prediction had been correct. There was no proof, but Akasaka still believed that he was able to save Yukie only because of Rika Furude's prediction. He intended to call and thank her for saving Yukie, but the busy days that followed put it out of his mind. Rika-chan. He wondered if she was still doing well, if she was still smiling. Akasaka remembered the sad prediction she made on that night under the moon, while still wearing that smile. That's right. She'd said something. She predicted someone would get killed on the night of the festival every year, and that on the 5th year in, she'd be the one to be killed. That's right, he thought. She did say that. The 5th year. That's this year! The festival is... That's right. It's in June. If he remembered correctly, it happens on the last Sunday of the month. Akasaka looked at the calendar. It was June 1983. Although there was still some time, the death she predicted for herself was coming up. The girl who'd predicted Yukie's accident also prophesied a mysterious incident would occur annually for the next 5 years. If they'd actually been happening, then it would happen again this year. Akasaka wondered if Ooishi was still at the Okinomiya Police Department. If the annual incident she predicted actually was taking place, he would know. In other words, he could confirm if Rika Furude was going to be killed or not with a phone call to Ooishi. The girl who predicted her own death had muttered that she didn't want to die. Muttered? No. It was clearly a plea for help. A young girl who was trapped in the fathomless bizarre traditions of a village she couldn't escape had sought help from him, an outsider. She paid his reward in advance, in the form of foreseeing Yuki's accident. He had to get to her. He had to go save her. A flood of emotions filled him up. He felt as though he had finally remembered something he was never supposed to forget. That's right. He had to go to Hinamizawa. He had to save the girl who asked him for help. Hello, Okinomiya PD. Hello. Is Kurado Ooishi still working in your investigation department? If he is, may I talk with him, please? Excuse me, may I ask who's calling? Could you tell him it's Akasaka from the police headquarters? Ooishi was a very lively person, but he had been old even back then. Maybe he'd already transferred somewhere else, or maybe he'd since retired. But if he was still there, he'd be happy to hear from Akasaka. He sure had a unique laugh. Ooishi-san, there's a phone call for you. Someone from the police headquarters in Tokyo. Tokyo? Who could that be? Hello, this is Ooishi. What? Oh my, and how have you been? It's nice seeing every piece fall into place. It really is. It's so satisfying. Oh my gosh, okay. Well, they've given us a stopping point, so I think, unfortunately, we're going to end here for today. My voice is about ready to die on me. But thank you guys so much for coming. I believe, because next week is Thanksgiving. So I think I'll try to stream Monday, Tuesday, and then probably not for the rest of the week. Wait another week for more lore. Well, if I'm only streaming Monday, Tuesday, since family's coming, maybe I will play Higurashi on Tuesday and we can wrap it up. Because I do want to, well, I don't know. Should we do Monday or Tuesday for Higurashi? Because I also do want to play Layton and Ace Attorney. But I would also like to play this. So that'll be the 2 streams for next week.